Hello, my name is Cliff, and thank you for tuning into one of my videos. This video I'm going to call Sick Who Cares? And this pertains to the upper level of governments all around the world, not just our government here in North America. I'm talking about everywhere. They don't really care about our welfare of being. And I'm going to prove it by a couple of clips. I can show you multiple thousands of clips, but my previous videos on this matter, who cares, sick who cares, also demonstrate from other clips of videos by other people that there is a conspiracy, not a theory, a conspiracy against everybody on this planet. Okay. I'm going to show you two ladies here. One is a writer, educator. She's a doctor, and she's speaking out against chemtrails. The next person is also speaking out against chemtrails, but she used to be belonging to the military. The lady belonging to the, or used to be, that belonged to the military is Christian Megan, and she speaks out against what she found out as she used to work inside the military at a high-ranking position. And as she speaks out, what is frustrating to me is the fact that these control mongers that have manipulated everything around us into believing what they say is real. Meanwhile, they hypnotize you and me into believing what they say is the truth. If somebody is whistleblowing against them, they'll give you some sort of reason why it's not true, or they'll change the subject, like the fact somebody, when telling about their corruption in the military, they'll say that they're telling secrets against their national defense system, and you're corrupting security. Meanwhile, their corruption is far worse than any issues related to security. So let me get over to showing you these clips, and you, I hope you can start to wake up. All my videos are related to the fact of what I was told and taught by the Holy Spirit. Jesus says He's about to return, and basically this is coming to a close of all these things that are going on around the world. So watch this, and I'll try and get back to you after that.
With the U.S. military's secretive research and plans to control the planet's natural weather. This has not been given very much press, and we have to remember that we have a corporate-owned press where 85% of radio, television, and print media is owned by 5 corporations. So they're not going to talk about things that are of really serious consequence, and that's somewhat of the blessing, a mixed blessing of the internet, but there's certainly plenty of information on weather modification. The Air Force is on record as saying, quote, they want to control the weather by 2025, and we are not talking about just seeding the clouds for rain. Weather modification means, quote, any activity performed with the intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior, or dynamics of the atmosphere, unquote. And as of April this year, there are more than 150 different weather modification programs around the world. Since about 2000, the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy have been spraying the entire United States sky with the toxic brew of chemicals and other biologic agents. Do we have that? Can we do that? Just want to show you something. We have two different kinds of trails in the sky right now. One are called contrails. How many of you know what contrails are? Contrails would have been around from the ends of planes since World War II. These are very, very short exhaust trails that usually evaporate within a few minutes. You just look up at the sky and you'll just see a jet, sometimes with 4 trails, but it evaporates pretty quickly. How many of you know what chemtrails are? Nobody. The military and some commercial planes are spraying us with what are called chemtrails. I want you to look at the, and oftentimes before there's a weather front, there are heavy assaults from these planes just before a weather front is changed and comes in. Military and some commercial jets have been fitted with huge barrels of at least 49 different kinds of documented chemical poisons. Among other documented ingredients in this toxic man-made clouds are pathogenic molds, fungi, weaponized viruses, and made in some places like the secret site at Fort Detrick, Maryland, which is supposed to be a cancer site, but there are a number of scholars and professors tracking this that have big questions about this. Barium and nanoaluminum particles. What do these do to the human body? Barium is an alkaline earth mineral. It was discovered in 1774. At low doses, it can act as a muscle stimulant. At high doses, it detrimentally affects the heart and the nervous system. Barium is toxic to all mammals, and that means not just humans. Aluminum, which is the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust, is known to diminish kidney function and destroy brain cells and cognitive function. Just think about it. Just between the aluminum and the mercury that we're breathing all the time, we've got already a serious issue about brain function and cognitive function. There is also documented evidence that the aluminum in chemtrails is released as nanoparticles, and that when they reach the Earth environment for wildlife, in lakes and streams, it's causing serious problems with wildlife there. Researchers are also finding that nanoparticles interfere with the growth of plants. Nanotechnology is totally unregulated. Just this past month, a new research report came out showing and documenting for the first time that these nanoparticles actually go through the skin. Well, if you breathe them, whether they go through the skin or whether you're inhaling them, it's still a problem, a serious problem.
While at Warner Robins Air Force Base, I thought I was defending my country on a home front, making sure that all those people that went out there, front line, were safe and protected from carcinogens, radiation, inhalation, drinking water, noise, all of it. My job was to protect them so they could be all they can be. In 2009, late 2009, I stumbled upon something that changed my life. I ran across an operation at Warner Robins Air Force Base, which was exposing thousands of civilians to carcinogens. Those of you that are familiar with OSHA, in general industry and construction industry, for different constituents known as hazardous materials, OSHA sets levels for which certain employees can be exposed to. Well, what if I told you that these employees were exposed 100 times over that occupational exposure limit? That should probably scare you. That's an acute and an immediate hazard to carcinogens. People were getting sick. People were getting cancer. People had sores in their mouth from something called strontium chromate, or chrome-6, a carcinogenic metal used in military operations. So after what I saw at Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, and then what I saw at Warner Robins Air Force Base, Georgia, everything that I knew, everything that I thought I knew, This great nation, we are heroes. I had 4 stripes on my arm and 11 medals and ribbons on my chest. I thought I was protecting my homeland. When I brought to my commander to his attention that there were people exposed to these hazardous pollutants and people were getting sick, I'll give you the synopsis of the story. I took these air samples, I took the swipe samples. These people were actually dumb and ignorant enough to threaten me in writing. My threat was, mind you, I had a perfect history. Not one article of paperwork, not one Article 15, not one negative aspect on my record. I was the poster child for what an Air Force NCO should be. I was told that if I told the employees, which is required by law, that they were exposed to these materials, that my commander had the authority to lock me up in a mental institution for up to 120 days without being questioned. At the time, my daughter was 5 years old. I was told, who will take care of your daughter, because I was divorced. I was threatened to be locked up in a mental ward for trying to do my job. I was threatened to have my one child who I love with all my life taken away from me because I tried to do the one thing I was trained to do, protect the workforce. So folks, let me tell you, 2001 is when I entered the military. 4 stripes on my arm, 11 medals and awards on my chest. But it only took one day to change my life. And that day was October 27, 2010, when I left the United States Air Force at almost 10 years, halfway to retirement. I would have been scot-free. I left as a whistleblower of the United States Air Force. I had my life threatened. I was followed. My phones were tapped. I had journalists at my front door. I had no job. I left the United States Air Force honorably as a whistleblower. It is because of what happened to me in the Air Force, an avenue in which I thought I was a hero, an American hero, as we all think those in uniform are. When I realized that we are not honest and that the core values that the United States Air Force taught me were completely just talking points, it made me sick to my stomach. After leaving the U.S. Air Force, I worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs, which I figured I would be blacklisted and would never get a job with the U.S. government. Why I worked for the U.S. government, I don't know at this point, but it was easy to get because I was a disabled veteran. Why I was at the Department of Veterans Affairs, thinking I could turn things around. You know what I witnessed? How many of you are veterans here?
Right here.
Several of you.
Ted is.
Let me tell you about a little program that the Department of Veterans Affairs has. When you come in with PTSD, depression, anxiety, drinking problem, substance problem, they put you on psychotropic drugs. They put you on psychotropic drugs in which they get kickback for and profit for from Big Pharma. And then when you get addicted, they put you in a program called DDTC. It's called Drug Demand Treatment Center. So once they get you on these drugs that they profited from, they then put you in a program that they get government grants from to put you in rehab. So those of you who are veterans, I would really rethink your care at the veterans facilities. And I know in saying that as a former employee, puts a big bullseye on my forehead. But frankly, I don't care.
There you go. Direct evidence proclaiming against what the military are doing in the skies. What is confusing to me is maybe because I've been shown, because I was just a blind bat as well, walking around oblivious to what's going on, is the fact that so many can't get it. If you watch television, you see their commercials talking about medicine that they're giving you, and they're telling you, don't take it if you have this. Don't take it if you're related to this person. If this person has a problem with this disease, if you've had a touch of this, go see your doctor. Everything they try and sell you has some potential risk in it, and they'll tell you to your face, but you can't see it, or you can't wake up to it. It's time to ask questions, people, because these things are going to get worse. This is what the Lord says.